Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with my predictions for Clash of Champions taking place this Sunday night. Let's begin right away with the Cruiserweight Championship triple threat match as Drew GULAK defense against Humberto Carrillo and Lince Dorado. Humberto beat Oni Lorcan to earn a shot at Drew's title, and then 1 week later, Lince Dorado beat Humberto himself to make it a triple threat match. So I expect a lot of big high-flying moves in this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. The contrast between Lince and Humberto's high-flying style compared to Drew GULAK and his striking and submissions. I always like the bigger clash of wrestling styles. Often makes for a more exciting match, in my opinion. I think this will be no different. However, I do see Drew GULAK retain the championship once again here. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defend the Women's Tag Team Championships against Fire and Desire. That's Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. The whole build for this matchup has been pretty much these two moments. A few weeks ago, Fire and Desire beat Nikki and Alexa in a non-title matchup, and then this week on SmackDown, Mandy called Nikki ugly, and that's been pretty much it. So I think the match itself will be okay. The build has been kind of lackluster. I see Alexa and Nikki retaining the championships here. No need for hot potatoing with the belts at this point, so I think I see the tweener babyface tag team retaining. The Revival challenge Big E and Xavier Woods of the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and what's probably the least built matchup in the entire card this Sunday. When I was filming Who Wore It Better this week, I legit spent about 5 minutes thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, who are the SmackDown Tag Team Champions? I have no idea. I've completely forgotten because they wrote off Big E and Xavier with kayfabe injuries weeks ago, and they've made no mention of the fact that they were champions or anything like that. So, like, yeah, this completely underbuilt, underdeveloped. I mean, it's come at the, the build between Kofi and Orton for later has come at the expense of the build for the tag team title matchup because the Revival have been helping beat up Xavier and Big E. So I don't know. I mean, as far as who's going to win this one, I'm just going to throw out there that the Revival win this one and take advantage of the kayfabe injuries, so to speak. I mean, it's just so weird how, like, it's seeing just Kofi by himself in the build the last few weeks is very weird. It's kind of like a sink or swim almost because, yeah, Xavier and Big E are nowhere near the build for this thing. On the other side of the tag team title coin, you have Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman defending the Raw tag titles against Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, two thrown together tag teams if ever there was one. The story here is, can Seth and Strowman coexist because they have the Universal title match later on? My guess is I don't think these two are destined to be long-term tag champions. I don't see the same thing happening for Roode and Ziggler either, but I think that those guys are going to capitalize on some mistake in the match, and Roode and Ziggler are going to be your new Raw tag team champions. That's going to help build the story for the main event later on. AJ Styles defends the US Championship against Cedric Alexander. Of course, the big development came this week on Raw and MSG when Cedric beat AJ in the middle of the ring during that 10-man tag team match, so giving him lots of momentum here. And I've long thought that a match with AJ and Cedric, if it goes, bells to bell with no wonky interference and stuff like we saw in that kind of bait and switch earlier on Monday this week, then I think it has the potential to be a great matchup. They have very similar styles I think can work really well together. And I think that Cedric, he got the momentum on Monday. I think he will eventually get his time in the sun as a champion, but not this time. I think AJ is going to retain here simply because we've seen the title belt bounce back and forth so much lately between AJ and Ricochet. I don't think we're going to see that happen this Sunday. The Miz challenges Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship, a title that The Miz himself has made famous over the last couple of years, to be sure, but this is the first time he's challenged for it as a babyface in quite a while. And of course, the real wild card with this matchup here is that Sami Zayn is going to be in Shinsuke's corner as his mouthpiece / manager. I think he'll definitely be getting involved in this match, to be sure. I said before, I'm all on board with the idea of Miz as babyface, but the way they've been building him up ever since he and Shane broke up earlier this year has been less than stellar. He has had a pretty big losing record as of late. He's been getting a couple wins lately for the purpose of the build for this match to make him look like a contender, but much like the US title match, I don't see this one changing hands. I think Shinsuke is going to retain, especially with that tricky devil Sami Zayn in Shinsuke's corner. Eric Rowan takes on Roman Reigns in a no DQ match. The fallout from when it was revealed that Rowan was the person behind all these heinous attacks against Roman Reigns over the last several weeks, the dumping the stuff on him backstage, the almost hitting him with a car, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about this one. I've been weighing the options of this one for a while tonight, where it's like, do you maintain the status quo with Roman Reigns champions, overcoming the odds, getting revenge against the man who was attacking him? Or do you give Rowan this big pivotal win? Because, I mean, if they're trying to push him as a singles guy, then I think it stands to reason he should get a really big win here. But I think that, you know, I think that Roman winning makes a lot more sense because this is kind of him getting revenge on Rowan for what he did. And, you know, there is still the possibility in the back of my mind that, you know, maybe Daniel Bryan's still the higher power in all this thing, and they're going to, so to speak, and they're going to reveal that he has been the mastermind. Even though he took a big move from Rowan to the announce table last week, he'll still be in Rowan's corner. It does seem like kind of a backtrack, though, because I kind of like the idea of Rowan as a singles guy on his own, not being a puppet like he said, but I also kind of in the back of my mind think maybe it's all a swerve and it's going to go back to him being a henchman again. Bayley defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair, who's going for her 10th Women's Championship in her career. Really, the recent developments as of late with Bayley turning heel, gaining a bit of an edge here, I think it's going to put her over the edge, so to speak, and allow her to retain the title against Charlotte here, maybe with the help of Sasha Banks, maybe not. And speaking of Sasha Banks, she's going to be in action challenging Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. This one I think is going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to this matchup. I think both are great workers and they're going to have a really exciting matchup. And if what we saw on the tag team match on Raw this week's any indication, I think they're going to do great. That being said, I think that Sasha is going to shock the world and beat Becky for the championship here. And much like the SmackDown Women's Championship match, maybe with the help of Bayley, maybe not. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happens since they do have that friendship bond and they are clearly working together. And so imagine that, like the two-woman power trip of Sasha Banks and Bayley as the champions of their respective shows running things. Kofi Kingston defends the WWE Championship against Randy Orton. It's a rematch from SummerSlam, and that in and of itself was a revival of their feud from a decade ago, so things are continuing here. Really interesting how they've been telling the story the last few weeks in SummerSlam, because they were really going hard for the angle of like Orton attacking Kofi's family or targeting them, and then when that got way too samey to the Samoa Joe AJ Styles feud from this exact same time last year, it seems in the last week or so they've really kind of pulled back on that, and now it's just like traps. Orton is trapping Kofi. And so that it was definitely, they focused away from the family here, which I applaud them for doing that. This matchup here, I think that Kofi's going to retain. Ultimately, I was thinking about it, you know, for a while today as to who's going to win, and based on what I saw on SmackDown, I think Kofi's going to win here and retain. Also, with the fact that, you know, they're advertising these two fighting again later on for the Fox debut of SmackDown, this obviously is not over yet, so I think we're going to see a continuation of that, but Kofi is going to retain here as my pick. And finally, in part 2 of the saga between these guys on Raw, you got Seth Rollins defending the Universal Championship against Big Braun Strowman. I think this is going to be a really interesting matchup here because we've seen these guys have singles matches in the past, but never ending conclusively. And that was a while ago, back when Braun was a heel. So it's a two babyface battle here. And so I'm really curious to see how the fans react to these and see who gets cheered more or perhaps booed more as this match goes on. You know, and I've been thinking again about, like, you know, maybe this is Braun's time. It's like every time I think it's Braun's time, it's never Braun's time. And I don't think it's going to be Braun's time for a while, sadly. So I do think Seth is going to retain the championship here. And the actions of what happened in the Raw Tag title match is going to fuel their respective fires for this matchup. I think it's going to be a good match, but I think Seth is going to retain and keep the big red belt. Well, those are my picks for Clash of Champions this Sunday. Let me know your picks in the comments section below, and I'll see you on the other side for my review of the show on Monday morning. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.